Stuttgart, 2001. You were an institution, till also for you everything has changed. Many of my CDs I've bought in you, countless books on art, Probylane art history, the history of literature of course also, and, oh yes, the lexicon of Christian iconography. What was the most important of? Of course, a silly question, but I have to think of Burroughs. Everything from him I bought in you and actually read. Chunky, Sure Naked Lunch, Interzone. Today there are many which imitate you, but your flair none has ever achieved anymore. Oh yeah, the Merkhefte. Has anybody repealed these? Heilbronn, Berliner Platz, Berlin Place, a flattering name for the shabby parking lot who was there. Now you have to stay decent and mention that the city, at the end of a very confusing time, was almost completely destroyed. Only very little what was still so after that night as the day before. After that, everything was very fast, very cheap, but especially very unimaginative rebuilt. Simply said, the city was an ugly city. And how it has changed. Berliner Platz, now a cultural center with a public library, theaters, jazz club, music school, restaurant, bakery, shops. There's nothing more of the shabby parking. Before, a streetcar drives again now, and the Alameda will actually become again to one, even when the trees still are a bit small. How you have changed. Stuttgart. Railway stations. Railway stations were always my harbors. I only have this never recognized. Especially yours. Could one, but only once, just arrive. And even if it should go further, it took some time for it. Nothing for overly hasty, are you? Even it should become different now. I often walk through your hall. All the people, those who come, those who go, those who stray, not knowing what might be their destination, not knowing which of the trains stand for them, and they're reeking between all those who know him. And now you are maimed, and although there's still the beautiful hall, so it hurts to see you so. Even more it hurts that soon no more ship will put in and out, that you are no longer allowed to fulfill your purpose as an aged who seems useless, relegated without purpose, just waiting. But I'm sure some will continue to love you, even if much of your beauty by gone and you're deprived to signification. I will. And this odd feeling begins to fulfill me, as if I look upon my trees or the distant lights, to know that at least some of you will be, if I. Bad Friedrichshall. In my youth there were many bunkers from the previous time, although the Americans had all blown up or otherwise rendered unusable, but their remains could be found everywhere. For us, they were ideal places to play, for me and my friend. Some of them considered of only one room, others were of considerable size. The most eerest was found on private ground, on which one could attain through a hole in the fence. At first there was only a deep hole that was used to burn all kinds of waste and what accumulates so in the plantation. The hole had a considerable diameter, and if you looked down, you could see concrete walls. So we went down and found a bunker with several rooms. Since everything was very dark, there was only the incident light from above, everything was very scary, but also very exciting. We always read the letterings on the walls, but we made us no thoughts about them. Was it an unburdened time? Today all bunkers are filled up. On one of the mounds even a plaque is mounted, which reported that thereunder the remains of a bunker are, in which we often had played. Ludwigsburg. Your beautiful marketplace with the churches and the old sun. It again had cost me infinite overcoming, and now I sat at the table, had ordered several courses, wine there too, was ineffably nervous, sweated. Very delicious food, good wine, perfect service, sweating, Uncertainty, yet still some gratification, at least having done it. Feel foreign, alone. Emmet. Stuttgart. At the Fire Lake. Was on the move all day, walked in the city, driven Cockerel Road and more. Now at the evening, near beginning twilight, when it cools, I finally come to rest. Salad with roasted Swabian pockets, coffee, and a view of the lake. The other people at the other tables, conversations, couples, friends. I look at the ado, drift my thoughts, wishes, dreams, hopes. Think about the future, as I always do. What I would like to do. What I picture to myself. Heilbronn. If something should illustrate your ugliness, then for me it were the barracks in the Bahnhofstraße. Shabby wooden constructs, the whole side of the road. As from another time, another world. Today all beautiful, large, solid structures, so different you look now, almost like one of the big cities. Do you compete with them now? Even students are in you now. Stuttgart. Rosenstein Park. Once I was at the Museum of Natural History, looked at fossils, so old, so long been, yet still something had remained. Otherwise I was always walked through you, many times aimless, sometimes to go downtown or home. But that I would have sat on a bench, simply would have looked at you, enjoyed, thereto I cannot remember. Only in the beer garden I was sitting one time or another, and looked yet again at the other people. But you were a beautiful park. Not that you are not beautiful today, but you have wounds. And these do not only hurt you, many share the pain with you. But even now, and especially at that time, you are and were a beauty, with many charming places and locations. Your rose garden, the view of Cannstatt. And I also like the view on the high up beside you proceeding railway. Yet, what will it be? Beautiful? Skyscrapers, shopping center to date, ugly, inhuman. One should hope, in 10 or 20 years, one will be pleased, find it beautiful what was. Nice it would be, the many sacrifices and uglinesses demanded. Heilbronn. How many times I stood in front of shop windows, in front of cafe entrances even, but I could never find the courage to walk through one of the doors. So it was with a tea shop that no longer exists today. Today there are many. At that time I think it was the only. More precise, he offered coffee, tea, chocolate and more, but I had only eyes for the tea. In small bowls he was to be seen in the shop window, and on small labels was to read what sort it was and whether it is black or green tea. And then I actually entered the shop one day, before repeatedly assured what I wanted to buy. I bought some black and some green tea, and perhaps a flavored tea. I just cannot remember that exactly. I briefly mentioned what I want, and was happy about to leave the shop. At home I prepared the tea, just as I thought it should be, the way it was always done with the bags. The result was disappointing, especially the green tea was terrible, and that at a not inconsiderable price for me. It stayed my only purchase. To ask what I had possibly done wrong, I did not dare anyway. And so my interest in tea comes to an abrupt end, and pursued at most in the form of tea bags. It took a long time, very long, until I probably began to interest me for tea, to go into a special shop, to give free rein to this passion. Today I cannot imagine anything else, as that I, after coming home, at first fill the water kettle, and to watch the tea as he unfolds in the glass pot, to smell it, to pour in the teapot, to look at the swollen up tea leaves, to sit at the computer and to enjoy the warm tea. Too bad that it took so long. Thank you for listening.